We are live. This is the market update. This is the Are We Coming Back Yet market update. I am your host, Bill Noble. If you need a roadmap in crypto, if you need to know when to buy, where to buy, subscribe to this channel. Turn on alerts so you know when we're going live. And if the content works for you, please hit the like button. Today, we are going to restore your sanity. The good news, most of the damage that's going to get done in crypto has been done. Most of it. Equities, I continue to believe, are hosed, which will create the next and potentially final dip in crypto so you can get in and perhaps still sleep at night. Want the details? Want to see the charts? Want to see LuxAlgo altcoin overtime? Don't go anywhere. Okay, just as a reminder, this show is brought to you by my Patreon. Patreon.com/unhinged crypto. This stylish QR code will help get you into the Patreon group where it is $15 a month. Prior to coming on the show, I publish new historical research work, all right, that will blow your mind, particularly when it comes to what's going to go on after the new moon. And also, this show is brought to you by LuxAlgo. Okay, LuxAlgo will help you. It has helped me. Check down below. Okay, let's take a moment to welcome who's here. Make sure you check out the Patreon link. It's now scrolling, patreon.com/unhinged crypto, the home of historical analysis, which, believe it or not, has been so accurate, my roadmap in crypto could barely keep up. Don't worry, I'm up to speed now, and you're going to love what's there. You're going to love it. Matter of fact, let me just do one final share. And there is the new piece, the new moon, epic volatility ahead. Yes, I have Gann-style analysis, moons, planets, and the history of that to do queries. Want to know how many people in crypto, including major research houses, have that type of research? One. That would be me. Welcoming Richard Barry, Yappy. Welcome to the show. Steve. Right on time. Bob Marsh, bewail the failed rally or two. And that's the market update. Randall Dance, Silas, welcome. Right? Yesterday was odd because we knew it was coming, but the reasons were not the common ones. You're right. Everybody had to become a macroeconomics expert in Japan and the yen carry trade. I will try to go over that as best I can. Donato, George, Alexandra, Aiken with the Notorious love. Welcome. Bull Runner is here with some love for the Eagle King behind the scenes. Absolutely. Right? Steve gave his portfolio a medical procedure. K-Real is asking, now is the right time to buy MicroStrategy. I have cash on hand in my stock portfolio. I say let stocks go down 10 to 15%. However, the downside in MicroStrategy is limited relative to the rest of crypto, not investment advice. Carlos Spinacci is here. Ashton, welcome. George, Vincent, T451, new names. Nut from Twitter, welcome from Norway. Local Liquid. Bubba, David, welcome. Okay, news. Let's go. Okay, well, Fear Greed Index is now at 17 in stark contrast to the massive cheering that you had at Bitcoin Nashville. Now, frequently when you get sentiment indicators this low, one of two things happens. You get a V bottom and it goes straight up, or if the market rolls over, people really panic and you get kind of a double bottom scenario. People in Patreon already know what I think about that. But the problem with fear is if they don't get upside gratification, they can panic. Plus, it's definitely not over in equities. Definitely not over in equities. Okay. Frankie B from Twitter says, so if mortgage rates went down, how is it that they didn't cut? Please explain. Okay, so this is a good point. Basically, mortgage rates move off what happens in the bond market, particularly the long-term bond market. So the bond market can lower interest rates in certain sectors of the economy by itself. Now, the Federal Reserve needs to get over themselves, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. We will check that out right now. Meanwhile, back at the Bitcoin ranch, Semler Scientific buys $6 million worth of Bitcoin as Bitcoin traders lie in bed on Sunday night. These big players going, oh my God, look what the yen carry goofballs just handed me. A Christmas present. I mean, these guys are going to be down there. And again, if equities go down, you might see a retest of the lows in Bitcoin. I don't know. Maybe it's 48K if it's all out panic. What's the problem? Really, what's the problem? What's changed except price? That's the way to look at it. Now, I realize that like more downside will be scary. You know, Sunday night was frightful. My phone's ringing. I get it. People are afraid. People are probably still afraid. And if they see a failed rally, as Bob noted, they're going to lose their mind. They're going to lose their mind. And this thing in equities is not over. It is not over. Okay. That bubble has not burst. Now, continuing on, fantasy land, right? I don't know. Some economist on CNBC, took a mushroom and thinks that we're going to get a 75 basis point emergency cut from the Fed because the S&P went down 8%. That's not happening. And here's why. Jerome Powell's kind of a grumpy dude. He doesn't want to go down in history as a guy who let inflation get out of control. He doesn't. So what's he going to do? Well, he's going to leave rates too high for too long. He's already done that. We're already in a recession, right, in the minds of most people. And he's just going to let capital markets adjust because inflation is too many dollars chasing too few goods. And where are the too many dollars coming from? Stock market profits, the Nvidia babies. So the Fed's just got to be like, okay, well, you know what? We're just going to wipe these guys out. And then some bank or hedge fund will fail, and then we'll come in with the printer. And anybody thinks you're coming in with the printer before somebody fails, they may be in for a surprise. This is the problem with equities. First, they live in a fantasy that it's going to go up forever. Then as soon as it goes down, they want the Fed to save them after 8%. The Fed will save you after 25%. Okay? So, the emergency immediate cut is not happening unless you have a threat to the system. Not your bags, not their bags, the system. We know how to live with volatility. They do not. Meanwhile, the Ethereum ETF posts the second largest inflows as global markets wobble. What? You mean people wanted to buy Ethereum down 20%? As Vitalik is saying, we're about to push the button to onboard tens of millions of users, and they're selling Ethereum down to 2,000? Having it be down for the calendar year? Really? Equity market investors, although, some are crazy, some are a little delusional. Equity market investors in general, the savvy ones are like, oh, wow, look, they marked it down 20%. Let's buy that. I mean, that has paid for the last 15 years. You're like, oh, yeah, wow, look, they destroyed it. Let's get some of that. Plus, these tech stocks, they got nowhere to go but down or to just sit. I mean, I call it dead money. Okay. Now, Steve says dropping rates now makes it worse. You're right. Because if they dropped rates now, they would be admitting that they screwed up and or there could be a big, big problem out there. So they're better off waiting until the problem is so big, they have to kind of do, hey, the rescue squad's here. Okay. Morgan Stanley to allow financial advisors to start pitching the Bitcoin ETF as if they need to pitch it. Hey, there may be something wrong out there. Maybe you should try Bitcoin. Notice how they waited for the equity market to fall apart before that announcement was made. Fascinating, as Mr. Spock would say. Okay, so the other side has a new candidate for VP that will appear to boomers. I didn't know they still had, super left-wing people in that demographic, but I guess they do. 3 in 5 Americans say we're already in a recession. Meanwhile, 70% of Americans report ongoing inflation is making their life miserable, but Jerome Powell doesn't care about that. He doesn't, because he's left rates too high for too long, because he wants to go down in history as the guy that stopped inflation, not the guy that let it get out of control. I mean, he did let it get out of control, but he's got to stop it. And the only way to stop it is to blow out the Nvidia babies, to put the Nvidia babies in the same sort of, basket as everybody else who's suffering. It's like, you got to spread the love around. It's like all these stories that we talked about in the market update at 2:00 in the morning about how everyone's taking a summer vacation. Everyone's traveling, airplane flights, all-time highs. Yeah. Where do you think that money's coming from? Credit cards and Nvidia. That is about to end, and end badly. Okay, so how will a scenario unfold? Well, this is really interesting, probably hard to see on the graph, but this guy seems to indicate that there's more of a setup for a double or triple bottom in Bitcoin, right? And then a large range in Ethereum, which, makes kind of sense. That Bitcoin is going to be the first thing to go. And then the rest of the market may follow, after trading in a range. Not an unreasonable assumption. Again, check Patreon for the juicy historical details. Okay, so investors hope the worst is over. Here we go. It's over now. The Fed's coming any minute. Yeah, okay. When this reads, it's over, it's ending, nothing is ever going up again. It's 1929. It's the Depression. I'm so upset. I'm in the fetal position, hugging a gold bar. That's when it's over, particularly in stocks. Okay. Crypto has taken its beating. They can retest the lows, but this look, no, sorry, dude. Okay. Again, Intel, right? This is not going to be the first company doing this. And I got to be honest with you, this is really sad, right? You start laying off 15,000 people, everyone in that company sitting around on pins and needles, and everybody in every other company going, am I next? Right? These companies that can no longer jump over these earnings bars, if they can't grow the top line, if they can't grow revenue, the only way to create profits is to start cutting costs. And the biggest cost in any of these organizations is people. Okay? Simple as that. Okay? So NUT is like when plunge protection team in TradFi. Okay? After every big company has announced massive layoffs. And when you have the stock market down probably another 10%, and everybody's so bearish that they've given up on everything. Now, some TikTok work on sentiment. Okay, so on an account that has 14,800 followers, we have at the top, okay, for Bitcoin Nashville, there is no more Bitcoin, 341,000 views at the top, right? That was emotional. Everybody wearing orange Bitcoin sneakers, and then the market gets absolutely rugged. Then we have Jerome Powell's recession, 50,000. Sorry, not sorry about the stock market, because we feel so sorry for the Nvidia babies. 160,000. And then the best crypto crash ever, 115,000, as a show of the absolute bewilderment of most people out there who honestly are on TikTok looking for information. That's young people, people who are not like economics savvy. They don't understand what's going on. They don't. So they need help. Now, when you have uncertainty, when you have something going on that people don't understand, that's when people lose their mind. That's when they get upset. So if there's a failed rally in Bitcoin, right? If Bitcoin can't get through 58, or you have that research in Patreon assert itself, people could get really upset and panic sell. Okay, Peter Schiff, a gold guy, says the government buying Bitcoin is not a good idea. Well, Pete, it would be a great idea if they were buying gold, which they should do too. You know, Bitcoin as a reserve asset is here to stay, right? And any selling that occurs in crypto really is nothing more than a stunt to get Bitcoin lower. Like if there's another downturn in stocks, you can bet that they're going to hit the market. I think this is what happened to Ethereum, that they're going to hit the market trying to push it down so they can just get more Bitcoin. I mean, it's just like it's Christmas for these big players. They thought they were going to have to pay 80, and now they might be able to get it with a 40 handle. They obviously can get it with a 50 handle right now. And do you think these guys like Michael Saylor care if they get it at 40, 50, or 60? They don't care. They just don't. They're like, oh, wow, they're selling it. Oh, cool. Right? I mean, crypto equities may get caught in the next down wave. But again, that, in my opinion, is a buy, not investment advice. Welcoming Noah and Kat D to the show. Kat, welcome to the show. Daniel J. from the Jersey Shore. What a beautiful place to be. That must be. There's no bad weather. There's only bad clothing. So are you ready for what's next? Most people in equities are not. Now, a very important little announcement here. Starting tomorrow, the Treasury will start buying back bonds. You're like, wait a minute. I thought the Treasury issued bonds for the government to finance itself. Yes and yes. So what the Treasury does is if they need $2 trillion, they borrow $3 trillion. And then they use the additional $1 trillion to actually buy back bonds and make sure that there's a bid in the system for our debt. Now, this is a way of putting high-powered money in the system. It is. So this could be good. And let's hope that it is good, that they're going to be doing this out until the end of October to make sure that there's a bid for our debt. So that could be it. That's why I think crypto, like, you know, basically the worst has happened. They can retest the worst, but the worst is basically done. Now, that said, if the Treasury starts putting money into the market and the market doesn't go up, then the market is going down. This is stocks, right? And then we're going to get caught along with that. So if there's a positive catalyst and the market does not react to a positive catalyst, that's the end. Right. And again, if you look at what's going on in Patreon, if you do not get a rally off this, or you get a failed rally off this, you're going to get to buy it lower. And believe me, you do want to buy crypto, because when people get revulsion in equities, Morgan Stanley can get people to buy the Bitcoin ETF. I mean, it is a no-brainer to get out of tech stocks while you still have gains for the year and buy a crypto asset basically where it was at the start of the year. I mean, equities haven't even unwound the summer yet. So if Treasury QE holds up the market, great. That's awesome, right? But if Treasury QE doesn't hold up the market, equities people have problems. Okay, so fear, greed is making headlines this morning, right? Everybody is really upset. Fear, greed in one instance is at 26. Extreme fear. Now, the question is, under a situation of extreme fear, if you get a failed rally, what happens? Now, most likely when you're in an extreme fear, if you don't get a retest of the lows, most of the time you get a range, because when people are afraid, they're like, okay, well, should I buy or should I let someone else buy? Think about it. Now, Michael Saylor is not going to wait for someone else to buy, because Michael Saylor is like, yeah, by the way, crypto is awesome and traditional finance only operates 20% of the time, and Bitcoin is 24/7. Now, The Economist is saying, can anything pop the everything bubble? Well, the answer to that is yes, something can pop the everything bubble, particularly in stocks and real estate and housing and all that. Now, here's how it works. Okay, here's your lesson on Japan part 2. So everyone got hysterical about what was going on Sunday night, and that was basically all wrong. The Bank of Japan successfully defended the yen and prevented the yen and their bond market from collapsing, because the job of central banks is to fight inflation and defend the currency, not pump anyone's bags. So Japanese stocks, which had been going up, went down. That was a leading indicator of what was going to happen in the US. And that was Sunday night's trade. Now, moving over to hedge funds. So this is, there are reports out that explain this. You know, I can drop those reports in Patreon, but here is a lesson in what they call the yen carry trade. So let's take a moment to explain what that is. So the falling yen is a critical ingredient in what I would call the speculative cake, right? In other words, how do you get excessive speculation in markets? Well, you know, hedge funds can go to the Japanese markets and say, all right, I'm going to, you know, trade in, you know, yen. I'm going to sell yen and buy dollars. Then I'm going to take the dollars and I'm going to go out and speculate in the US markets. And since the yen keeps falling and interest rates are at zero, well, you know, it'll turn out basically that I'll be able to pay back less yen than I took out. So I'll get a great deal on a loan and I'll get to keep my speculation profits. And isn't that just juicy? And how many people are lining up to do that over the last 20 years? All of them. Everybody's doing that. Now, if that did make any sense, that's okay, right? Because the falling yen is just an engine for speculation. So if the yen rises and the investments that all these guys are speculating in go down, instead of a double whammy on the good side, they're getting a double whammy on the bad side. So if you have equities accelerate lower and, you know, the Bank of Japan has no intention of letting the yen fall, these guys have to rethink what they're doing. And if there's a hedge fund out there that's been naughty, that's gotten over their skis on speculation and hasn't covered or gotten out or taken profits like Warren Buffett, they're going to get hosed. And that's how you pop the everything bubble when everybody who's got the same trade on with the same style, with the same sort of financing, even if you don't understand what I just said, right? When everybody does the same thing, it's wrong. And Jerome Powell is not here to save you. I mean, when he stepped up to the podium and was like, yeah, we'll see in September. We're going to evaluate the data. I was like, oh my God. You know, that scared me. That scared me. Now, he may yet Janet Yellen pump money in the system, and let's hope that provides some stability because I really don't want to deal with the retest of the lows, right? I really don't. I don't want to deal with it. No, neither do you. But the fact of the matter is equities, you know, are absolutely ridiculous. Okay, back to news. Outstanding credit card balances and auto loans were at record high delinquency rates on both and are rising fast. What could go wrong? You know, if you have a hedge fund who can't pay back a loan to a bank, that is curtains. That's curtains. That brings in the Fed. Okay. Now, on the good side, we have crypto market crash. Analysts draw similarities to what happened with COVID. And you know what? That's true. So when you look at things like Ethereum that went down 20% out of nowhere, that is very much like what happened with COVID, which was a major, major, major bottom. A major bottom. Okay. That said, COVID, the response was to print $14 trillion in 1 month. That's not happening in this case, right? They're not going to print $14 trillion right now. They're not going to print $14 trillion at all. So any recovery could be just a little bit slower. A little bit slower. Okay. So T-Bone is reminding you to hit the like button. Thank you for telling me I deserve more than 32 likes. Hit the like button. Also, please visit the Patreon. The link is down below, and I can drop the link into the chat itself for the stream right there, right underneath T-Bone's comment. You support the channel. I stay up at 2 in the morning to bring you market updates because this volatility is not over. The good news is the damage in crypto may have been done. You may get a retest of the lows, but equities are going to scare people. PowerPoint, let's go. Look at this. I am operating this software this morning without any problems. Okay, so S&P, this is the stock futures contract. Okay, so before I get into that, so Jamie says, are we in a bull market or a bear market? Wow, what an excellent question. Let's cover that with equities, and I will talk about crypto. So this is a bull market in equities that is ending. Money flow on LuxAlgo is starting to come out of the market. So people are just now starting to sell. In my opinion, in equities, this is the start of a bear market, meaning it goes down and it basically stays down. You know, it doesn't go to zero. It's probably, you know, not the worst thing in the world, like 1929, but it is a bear phase. Now, in crypto, okay, so in crypto, this is the Ethereum weekly chart answering the question. Okay, Ethereum has gone up, up, up since FTX, and this is what I would call a bull market correction or simply a gigantic flash crash, right? Sometimes in bull markets, they will just shake you out. Shake you out, shake you out, shake you out. And this is the most unbelievable shake you out. I don't even think I could have thought of something like this. ETH at 2,300? We'll talk about that later. Crypto is in a corrective phase in a bull market. Equities are done. Equities are in a range, a broad range, back and forth, right? You had up only, and now you're going to have wavy action. So that's how I would describe this. Now, NASDAQ, everyone's favorite, okay, has like 10 to 12% to go before it gets to major support, which would unwind the entire trade for this year. So I guess people in equities, the margin babies over there, are going to try and tell me that, you know, something like Ethereum can unwind its entire year, but NASDAQ is special. Tech stocks are special. They're not going to do the same thing. Crypto's not a leading indicator for stocks. Whatever. Okay. This is going to go down 10%. This is going to test support, and it's going to be fugly when it happens. And we're just going to have to deal with the volatility. Most likely, it means a possible retest of the lows. Don't believe me? Go see what's in Patreon and experience the shock for yourself. Solana, okay, these DeMark numbers indicate that you could have one more down day, but you cannot have a failed rally. You cannot. What you want to see in Solana is like down and then steady up, or just down and then sideways. You get a rally that fails, bad. That will probably be stocks vaporizing. Best thing that can happen for crypto is stability. Solana on a 4-hour chart, the good news is you got the DeMark bottom and it worked. Thank goodness, right? You get kind of a rally. Resistance is at 164. Somebody in the chat said they got Solana around 130. That's awesome, right? That's awesome. Worst case scenario in Solana, they retest the lows. Best case scenario, 170. Solana is outperforming Bitcoin today. That's great. T-Bone with the super chat, thanking me for what I do. Sir, thank you for being a loyal subscriber. And that goes for everybody in Patreon. Thank you. Okay, Bubba says the shakeout isn't over, particularly with what's going on with the geopolitical situation. Yes, if you have any noise coming out of the Middle East, I would just be careful about buying into that because, you know, oil is very subdued still. So they're going to move before anything's going to move. But I understand what you're saying. There is a lot of FUD out there. And if you do have a geopolitical event, it is going to affect stocks a lot. Now, Solana is outperforming Bitcoin. However, you know, that there's support. That's good. But, you know, how long can that go on? I don't know. I don't know. Solana took out the top of a trend line, and then it took out the bottom of a trend line. The good news about Solana is it doesn't look like anything really happened. Everyone's like, oh my God, the world has ended. Has it? It really hasn't. You had kind of a flash crash in a bull market. You may have another one. But, the damage in crypto is done, meaning, the lows could be the next target, but I don't see 42K Bitcoin. I don't, right? I just see this like Bitcoin having to deal with riding the wave of equities volatility. So Ethereum, as a reminder, the rally for this year took off from 2,300, 2,200. The give up trade last year started at 2,300. The FTX breakdown started at 2,300, or at least crypto winter. The final rally before FTX started from 2,200, and the bull market monster move to 4,000 in ETH started from 2,200. So ETH has kind of found what I would call a value area. So ETH may park itself at 2,200. It may park itself there, right? In other words, stocks may gyrate. Stocks may just sit there. It is August after all, and this market is tired. That's a saying from old school legacy. The market is tired, right? When you have this kind of volatility over weekends, the best thing that can happen with all these markets is that we could go through some sort of like healing period. But, God help us all if there's some kind of failed rally, right? Because every time you have a failed rally, you just gets totally nuked. You do not want to see a failed rally. So Ethereum, this is a 4-hour chart. It's kind of a dead cat bounce, right? Sort of sad. No one cares about Ethereum. One day when there's an announcement that an investment bank is coming in to do ETH DeFi, that will change. But, this has been pushed out of a car. That opens up the Ethereum ETF. In other words, like if you were in crypto, the most intelligent allocations are the crypto ETFs because, the downside in crypto has been defined by the recent lows. So you've got crypto ETFs, the equities guys are coming. Then you have oversold stocks, Galaxy, Coinbase, MicroStrategy, Hut 8, maybe Marathon. Like, yeah, you can have another blowout in equities, but that's going to be absolute Christmas in crypto stocks. You would get a V bottom in crypto stocks under that scenario. So if you had capital left, you had 401k money, well, then you got to get in there. And if you got to clear out positions that aren't working, clear them out. If you look at a stock or a bond or a crypto versus where it was 12 months ago, if it's still up, you can keep it. If it's down or it's like, below where it was, like say 12 months ago, then you got to reevaluate, which in other words means get rid of the sludge, get out of stuff that's not going to work and get into stuff that will, right? And even if you got to make a bet, man, and when somebody bet on the Magnificent Seven in 2010, if you bought Google, Microsoft, Apple, Netflix, right, Facebook or Meta, 2010, you did quite well. Even if you only guessed right on 3 of those 7 stocks, you did very well. You got to find the Magnificent Seven of not only crypto, but crypto equities. Bitcoin on a daily chart. So the DeMark work shows, a bottom should come in the next day or two, right? And that's good. You want to see the thing continue. But like this 9 top, right? This 9 top, this 9 signal gave you this slow top, okay? With this, you do not want to see a failed rally. So you might get a slow bottom. Oh, that would not be great, right? You do not want to see a failed rally. You do not. Because when you have these 9 signals and there's a failed rally, that means the 9 signal meant the first part of a trend, not a bottom. So when you have a failed rally under these circumstances, bad. Support 47K. Now, as a reminder from yesterday, 48K, I think, is where the bottom could be. Maybe they take it to 46. I don't know. I like 48. Worst case scenario, right? Some people are talking about 42. When you have fear, greed where it is, everybody's downside target has to be below everyone else's downside target. The best time to think about Bitcoin at 100 or Bitcoin at 125K next year is to think about it now, when everybody is selling and everyone's telling you it's going lower, or everybody is afraid. No one wants to buy it. I understand that, but I don't see 42. Not in Bitcoin. Not in Bitcoin. Matter of fact, I think you got to start getting ready for a decoupling where on the last leg of equities going lower, Bitcoin is going to hold and then turn around and go higher because, you know, people don't remember this. When Silicon Valley Bank failed, Bitcoin went up. You had a bank fail in legacy and Bitcoin rallied off that. Can you imagine if you have what they call the yen carry trade mess in hedge funds and the Fed has to come in like they did in 1998 and cut 3 times, right, to stabilize the system? Bitcoin is outside the system. I mean, the ETF is in the system, but I mean, Bitcoin is thought of as being outside TradFi. Not to mention the fact that there's a whole host of legacy coins like Aave, you know, boring stuff that actually makes money. Not to mention the real world asset coins and all that stuff. Crypto as money. I mean, who is not going to want alternative money? Morgan Stanley's client base wants alternative money. Why don't you? Crypto heads are panicking and selling. And Morgan Stanley is like, oh yeah, this stuff that you guys are puking, yeah, we'll take all of it. Thank you. Morgan Stanley's retail clients are allowed to buy the Bitcoin ETF because Morgan Stanley's institutional clients have been buying the Bitcoin ETF and will continue to do so. Do you think Morgan Stanley would recommend it to retail clients if the institutional clients weren't buying it hand over fist? Inquiring minds want to know. Bitcoin Weekly on LuxAlgo. Oh my God, I love how LuxAlgo joins his big, fat yellow lines going, yeah, I don't know, man. Between 48 and 45 is where the support's at. So if they want to take it down there, well, good luck with that. This is the Michael Saylor line in the sand. Note how they weren't actually able to get down there this time. A lot of times when something pulls up short of support, they pay it a visit. Don't believe me? Go to Patreon and check that out. Okay, we're going to do a little LuxAlgo live. Okay, so this is brought to you by LuxAlgo. There's an affiliate link down below. Please support the channel. Okay, please support the channel. And of course, we would like to just remind you to, you know, hit the like button. We got 1,800 views on the last stream, and I thank each and every person who watched the 2 a.m. stream. Thank you for watching the show. Keep watching the show, because where can you get information like this? Nowhere, if I may say so. Am I always right about the market? No. Am I the only person in crypto willing to admit that they're not always right about the market? Possibly. Possibly. Right? But you can learn when I'm wrong. You can learn just as much by watching me be right as you can by watching me being wrong, because you may learn something and it may not happen to you next time. It may not. Okay. Now let's go to like kind of live TA of sorts, sponsored by LuxAlgo. Crypto crazy in the house. Pancakes and peanut butter is here. Welcome. Right? Okay. Okay, so here we have Bitcoin pressing 58K. Wonderful. Isn't it a beautiful sight? So, like I was hinting at earlier, right, in case you missed it, here's what might happen. They may go up here and they may think everything is great, right? I love it. And then equities may take and reassert, and you might get this before you get banana zone. You know, this is a theoretical possibility. And if this is a possibility, oh my goodness, you want to just take all of it from them. Oh goodness, look at Solana. Can you stop it? Can you stop it? Okay, so, you know, Solana wants to go back to 170. Well, the good news about this is that Solana is leading altcoins out of the hole. Look at True Finance. Oh my God. Like, I can't believe they did this. True Finance is unsecured lending like a real bank on the blockchain, right? I mean, can you believe how far True Finance has to go just to unwind that disaster? Now, that said, as much as I love it, when you have cryptos up 12 and 20% in one day, you know, it's like, oh God, it feels so good. Doesn't it feel good? Yeah, it feels too good, right? So, you know, when stuff goes down and then just sits there because everyone's afraid, it's like, oh, I don't know if I can buy it. When everyone's like, oh God, look, it's up 20%. Let's FOMO in. Yeah, no. I don't like that. I just don't. I mean, yeah, it's great if it continues, but if it fails, it's horrible. Now, I'm not necessarily picking on True because True is one of my favorite coins. Okay, Near, I want to look at this. So, you know, when you look at Near on a large picture basis, you know, $2.50 was great support. It bottomed around 3, right around this zone, which is again where the whole rally took off from. Now, what is the new modus operandi in equity? I'm sorry, in crypto. So let's just say you're sitting there and going, well, you know what? I don't have LuxAlgo. I'd love to get it. I know Bill talks about a lot of stuff. I get most of it, not all of it. Okay, so here's what I want to do. Go back to July of last year. And if you see something that's above, like Near in July of last year was at 1.6. And everyone is asking me, is this a bull market or a bear market? This is a bull market if it's above where it was last year at the same time. So on a calendar year basis, Near washed out almost everything, but it's still above where it was 12 months ago. I think if you just kind of eyeball it and you say, all right, you know what? What's changed? Not much. Not much has changed from a year ago, except the fact that the legacy system is coming unglued and there's so much strange news flow that, like, I don't know, weird, I don't know, I guess, I don't know how you would say it without getting dinged on the stream. You know, let's just call it alternative news sites. When alternative news sites that normally espouse, you know, unusual theories about how the world works, when that channel and those people become like the 6 o'clock news to be like, hey, this is the weird, crazy thing of the day. You know, considering that's what's happening, crypto really doesn't trade that badly. I know everybody wanted the last cycle. Everyone still wants the last cycle. Everyone's waiting for, I'm going to buy it. Everything's going to 10X. I'm going to keep the lampshade on my desk right over here. And then I'm going to put it on my head and everything's just going to go up. That is not going to happen. It's not, right? If anything, it's going to be an orderly up trade, and then it's going to accelerate when governments and corporations start buying Bitcoin. Now, let's look at something like Ohm that never really went down. Okay, real world assets, I don't know, like went to 85 cents, and the whole thing is still in its range. If anything, this looks like an expanding triangle formation. Now, what I like and don't like about this is obviously it never went down, but I don't like false breakouts, especially out of like diagonal or square formation. I don't like false breakouts, period. Right? So with this, you know, even though we love Ohm, we love it, theoretically, just speaking in theory, if you get a false breakout out of the top, you can get a false breakout out of the bottom. It happened in Solana. So you know, this is not on my list. Watch out. But again, if Ohm goes down, everything's going down. That includes S&P. Speaking of which, let's see what's going on in fantasy land today. I don't know. Let's look at an 89-minute chart. So they're loving it today. And a lot of times when you have a down market in equities, you start doing Fibonacci retracements. So the 38% retracement in equities is at 5,300. If the Fed puts high-powered money in the system, equities can go up. Wouldn't that be great? Because the more distance crypto can put between where we are and the lows, the more likely it is that it doesn't get all the way back down to the lows, even if there's a flush correction. Now, traditionally, the way things have worked in equities, and again, if you want to get out the, you want to get out the candies in equities, a lot of times if they take out 38%, they wind up going all the way up to 76%. Okay. And that is, like 5,400. Fat chance, in my opinion, that you get all the way up there. Crazy. But, that could happen. I doubt it. Right? You probably got 100% bearish sentiment in equities. And look at this. Like, I know it's on a delay, but Galaxy Digital is still down. This is an 89-minute chart. This is Galaxy, the Canadian stock version. I mean, this hasn't even moved. Like, they dropped it and left it there. Like Mike Novogratz is some kind of dummy. Crazy. How this, I mean, the extent that people have given up. Look at this band. LuxAlgo has these really cool, like, they're almost like Bollinger Bands, except they're colored. Galaxy got almost all the way to the bottom. You had excessive puking in this before the down move, and you've got these little triangles going, hey. I mean, MicroStrategy, something very similar. I mean, I know you got a stock split coming up on this, so maybe it's not the best chart, but, let's look at Coinbase. I mean, oh my God, Coinbase, they absolutely destroyed this thing. They destroyed it. I mean, this is a blow-off bottom if it ever existed. So what can they do in Coinbase? Well, they're going to run into resistance, right? And, you never know what can happen if tech stocks puke. But you know what? I would imagine you're going to have buyers down here at 170 if it goes back down again. That's if it goes back down again. I think there is a likely, and I think there is a likelihood of that. And I think in equities, you have to watch banks now. Okay, this is KRE, and I'll stop with the legacy in a minute, but no bounce here in regional banks. None. That should tell you something. That should tell you something. Now, Cardano up 7%. So Cardano is going up. That's great. Cardano is going to run into resistance at 35 cents. And if you look at a 4-hour chart, money flow was, you did have capitulation, but money flow is still negative in Cardano. So I'm not buying anything until I see like 4-hour money flow start to get better. Let's look at that metric in Bitcoin. So, Bitcoin money flow still red on the 4-hour chart. Okay, ETH money flow got excessive to the downside, but not even close to going green. Not even close. Now, you do have a decent LuxAlgo buy signal. Then again, you had one in, at the beginning of the month. Nothing is happening here, right, that makes me go, this could be over. Again, Arrow, which is the DEX on base on a 4-hour chart, the good news is it's way up. So altcoins and a lot of the stuff that has to do with the future of finance doesn't want to go down. It doesn't want to go down and stay down. And some of this stuff may not go back and retest the lows, even if it fails here. But please do not underestimate what can happen in stocks. But the worst in crypto, like the worst may be over. The worst may be over. And the real question is, do you buy it up 20%? I don't know. I would say no. Okay. Real world assets. Now, this is another unsecured lending platform. This may tell you a lot. GFI unwound the entire bear market, the entire crash. So there are altcoins out there that are just, people are chomping at the bit. Give me some crypto. You know, and if you got deep pockets and you want to like grab it now and grab it later, that's cool. But I don't like buying stuff up 20%, because if you have a failed rally after everything just went up 20%, that doesn't end well. Let's look at memes. Okay. Frankie is asking me about something that Pomp is involved with. Hobby is asking, are we back? Okay. I think whatever that damage they were going to do, they've done it. That doesn't mean it can't go back down and retest. I think generally speaking, it's time to move in crypto. It is. Just a question of whether you're going to pay 57 or 47 for Bitcoin. That's the issue, right? Hedge funds and stocks are in trouble, period. Now, is it great that crypto is recovering? Yes. Is that a sign that people want crypto? Oh, yeah. Right? Crypto is like, you know what? We're not interested in your nonsense. You smacked us because you have problems and we don't care. Okay? Bitcoin dominance did not break out. Okay? Bitcoin dominance, though, is holding support at a 4-hour chart. Okay? And I think you're starting to get the point about what I'm saying. In other words, crypto damage done, like Popcat. You know, everything, Popcat got destroyed. Popcat's up 20% today, but in many ways, you can't tell. You can't tell. Okay, JTO, Solana staking, everything is rallying into resistance. I'm not really interested in buying unless you break resistance. And again, I'm seeing a lot of altcoins here with double-digit up moves today. Some of these altcoins were in a report that I issued in the Patreon store. We do have something in the Patreon store. We have altcoins in there, right? We have lists of altcoins. And the last one I published, which Steve would love, okay, can show the Patreon store. Okay, so DeFi is the future, right? This report included a list. This report included a list of alts which had, at the time, support levels deep below the market. So a lot of those things could have been hit, particularly in coins like Aave and, you know, whatever other. I have DeFi and I have other coins from various sectors in there, right? Near support levels. And don't forget the historical analysis on September upside targets. Everyone's like, oh, what's the downside target? What's the downside target? No, what's the upside target? What's the upside target, right? I mean, really, like when Bitcoin back in the day in 2017 went to 20K, it went from like 4K to 20K. Realistically, did it matter if you paid 8, 9, 10? You know, did it matter? No, because it eventually went to 20. Do I want to buy the market up 20%? Not really. At a tactical level. But if you're sitting there going, gee, what should I do? Here's what you should do. Other than joining Patreon, haha, okay? You should seriously think about, hey, what is my 6-month plan for crypto? And what happens when they blow out equities? What happens when they blow out equities? Like, you know, let's take a look at Nvidia. Let's see what the Nvidia babies are doing today. Can you guys believe I remembered to share the screen? It's unbelievable. Okay. So here are our friends in Nvidia. Things got a little oversold at a tactical level. Okay, but you know, It's like, what's really happened here in Nvidia? You know what I'm saying? Like, Nvidia hasn't even unwound. I don't know. They haven't unwound this year. Do you realize that if Nvidia did unwind this year, it would go from 105 to 47? I mean, it happened to Ethereum. Why can't it happen to Nvidia? It's a chip stock. The CEO was autographing articles of women's clothing while the women were still wearing them. You don't think they can blow this out? This is trading at 105. What's really happened here? People want 75 basis points in rate cuts. They can torch this if they want to. They can. And people will be buying the alternative financial system in crypto. Okay, so here's a word I don't often use. You're still like, hey, Bill, what do I do? Well, you can nibble, right? You can put a little money in, and then if it goes down, you can put a little more in, right? Or if it goes sideways, you can just nibble. I don't think, based on some of the work that I've done, that, crypto is going to necessarily completely escape a blowout in equities. I don't think it can escape. It's not going to get any worse than it got over the weekend, but you want to be able to preserve your sanity. Where's Bitcoin going to be in 6 months? Twice as high as it is now. Like, everyone's like, oh, you can't get a 2 or 3x in Bitcoin. Oh, yeah, you can. So in that sense, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. But, with fear at 17, it's kind of a buy. It's not kind of a buy. It is a buy. The only question is, how much heat will you have to take? Because if it is a generational low, it won't be easy. It wasn't easy over this weekend, and it may not be easy if they lose it in equities. It won't be easy, right? It will not be easy. Let's see what else is happening. Yeah, somebody said, NEAR is killing me. A lot of people are so hurt and so upset. I get it. Huckleberry Native is here. Union Crypto, what's up? Bluff City Breaks, new names in the house, right? Moonwell, Coinbase Ventures. Okay, let's check it out. Let's check it out. See if I can get it up on the screen. Yeah, Moonwell, okay. Okay, so this is a good example of your 100% retracement, right? So a year ago, Moonwell was lower than it is now, or it's above where it was at the worst part of last year. And what I can say about this, and this is what you want to look for all across crypto, you want to see the give up trade. This is people giving up. You got 2 LuxAlgo buy signals here, and you've got this X signal, which is like LuxAlgo's version of the DeMark 13. You want to see people give up. You also want to see it come back. You're going to know what you want to buy for the next cycle. The market's going to tell you by what comes back and what doesn't. Okay? T-Bone is like, DCA is the way, right? Steve said, I just took some Solana profits. Crypto Crazy says things are going to get bouncy. Yeah, they're going to get very volatile. You're going to have 20% in either direction. And in equities, that's bearish. That leads people to sell, particularly since we are coming into the most illiquid period other than the holidays in December. So, stock pain, not over. Not over. Crypto, the worst has been done, meaning whatever lows that there are can get retested. I don't see massive new lows unless you have some kind of black swan-ish event. Do not lose faith in yourself. Do not lose faith in crypto 30 days before the massive decoupling occurs. First institution that fails, Bitcoin's going to go up 10%. Now, from what level does that occur? I don't know. Hopefully, it's not 42. My guess would be 48. Worst case. But the last thing you want to do is give up before the decoupling. That said, if you have to reorganize your portfolio, do it. If you have to get rid of stuff that's not working, if you have to get rid of stuff that messes up your emotions, like even if you think it's going to come back, one person was talking about NEAR. You know what? I think NEAR is okay. But if you're not okay with it, get rid of it. Whoops. If you're not okay with it, get rid of it. Okay? Huckleberry Native is, when is the massive decoupling? Okay, the decoupling has not occurred yet. The decoupling occurs when equities do nothing or go down and Bitcoin goes straight up. That day is coming. Michael Saylor has told you that. Okay, everybody, thank you for watching the show. I will see you in Patreon.